Welcome to the podcast series on technology and innovation in coaching, brought to you by the Association for Coaching, the world's leading independent body. I am Claudia Day, coach and entrepreneur and founder of eHuddle. In this AC podcast series, we are privileged to talk to coaches, academics, and entrepreneurs who will be sharing with us some of their research, findings, and experiences related to technologies that could help us democratize coaching, elevate the coaching practice, lower cost, or save time, among other benefits. This is a very broad topic, going from how technologies can support a coach or carry out a coaching process. We hope this series brings technology closer to coaches. Enjoy listening. Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Alex Haitoglou and his latest creation, an AI app called Ovida. In part 1 of our conversation, we talked about the shift of coaching to online conversations, data privacy, and security. In today's chat, we continue to talk about how AI tools and technology can benefit coaching. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, because you've mentioned several times, you are, of course, in constant contact with coaches in the process of developing this technology. How have you seen a shift because of COVID? And also now that we are in some way better again, and we are able to have face-to-face again, how are you seeing those shifts move between face-to-face and video?
It's really fascinating because when we started initially talking about this, and the first interaction we had with people around this and coaches was just before COVID, right? So that was probably the time. And I think it's fair to say that telecoaching has existed for many years, right? And I've known coaches that who do just telephone coaching for executives and boards, for years before there was even video, right? However, I do think that most people would say that, but face-to-face is really much better, significantly better, to be worth the effort of both people coordinating diaries and driving or going there and the rest to do that, right? And I would say there were also many people that would say, okay, I would never be able to do video, right? I do think this has changed dramatically to the point that I don't think we probably one exception. I've spoken to about 100 to 150 coaches over the last 8-9 months, right? So I think literally with one exception, everyone else sees video coaching at least as a part of the tool. Now, there's many people that are saying that, having an initial first face-to-face or having some face-to-faces as part of it is still very important. There are others that actually are just doing 100% of video, right? That is a big shift. And that means that also the need to, I think, be very good at video is important, right? And I think most people have got much better over the last year, but in the beginning, it definitely wasn't easy for most of us, right? So I think that is here to stay. And the reason why it's here to stay is because the benefits of being able to organize video, they're so much bigger. Like from a coach perspective, the way you can manage your calendar if you're not running around 15 different areas, right? And there's people that could only do maybe 1 or 2 face-to-face a day. They cannot do 3 or 4. The benefits for the client that they can fit it as part of from pretty much wherever they are. The democratization that this brings as well, right? I mean, it does probably reduce the cost per session, which is not great for the coach per se. But if you take into account that this now can be done from the coach's home, it could be that the value equation actually is better potentially. And I have met people that have told me, look, I'm actually charging less now because it's not face-to-face, but my overall life engagement, and even if I include the cost of trips, is actually arguably better than it was before. So I do think that video coaching is absolutely here to stay. There's a bunch of companies out there that are applying this at very big scale in corporations. So coaching has had over the last couple of years companies that have raised tens of millions of dollars in investment in order to provide a service to businesses with coaching. And I think that's a very good thing for the industry, because more coaches will be needed the more people do coaching, right? And there needs to be some more democratization, right? Just imagine if you have a business that generally cares about people in development. Before, you could only afford maybe to do your board plus another 20 people. Now, if you have digital coaching, video coaching, in a platform that makes things easy, you could probably extend that to a lot more people, like hundreds of people in your organization. So I think video coaching is here to stay. Yes, there are some very, very few people that I've seen still believe that, no, it's all about the face-to-face. I would say that from what I've seen now, the vast majority of coaches will end up in a model that is partially face-to-face, but with a lot of it being on video anyway.
You speak a lot about being better at video or worse at video. And suddenly I started wondering, like, what advice do you have there for coaches in about becoming better in video?
Yes. So look, we've seen a lot on the video recordings we've done, right? So we now have as part of our onboarding, we start with some basic sort of things around video, but simple things like, for example, I'll give one thing that I've seen a few times already, right? Some coaches like to keep notes, right? And if I'm keeping notes in a face-to-face discussion and I'm next to you and seeing what I'm writing, and everyone asks for permission, can I keep some notes? So there's all this, but you can do this on video. The problem is if you're on camera looking down on your notes when you're writing, actually the impact that this has on the relationship on video is completely different to when you're in the room. And we've had a few video sessions with coaches having aha moments on this, because if you're used to be writing notes in the room and that's the way you coach, right? That it's not something you can easily do on video, because looking down away from the camera, when the only point that someone has to connect really is the eyes, right? The eyes, and looking somewhere close to the camera is really important. It's another thing that's important for video. That's one simple tip that it sort of makes sense once you see it, but before you need to have a transition. Just basic things around lighting and being able to be centered in the camera and things like that. That are, I would say, the things that can be fixed relatively easy. And then the other things that video place a lot more focus on your facial expressions. So if you have, for example, a lot of body movement in your coaching or a lot of hand movement, a lot of it doesn't come through on video because most of people have the video camera set up to show only the upper part of the body. So I'm quite a sort of a hands speaker. I use my hands a lot, but you probably haven't seen it during this session almost at all. So there is definitely some nuances. And that's why actually video reviewing myself is so important, because I'm picking up things that wouldn't matter that much in a live situation. So, if I'm doing a specific thing with my mouth or something like that, if I'm in a full body situation, that maybe no one ever picks it up, but now it's just my face and the voice, right? There's lots of things that I think have come out, some basic ones and some more about, I never realized I did that, right? So these are the type of things that I think people can easily, and they do, with a bit of awareness, these things usually immediately transform.
I think the one that gets me is, saying hello is easy because you come, you smile, you basically say hello, but then the goodbye is like, bye. And do I wave? What do I do? And I don't know if you have any tips on this side.
That's fascinating. There's, I don't know if I have a specific tip on how to close the session, but what I can tell you, and this is something that coaches, many coaches have told us way before, video was so important, which is the beginning of the session, before the question of, hey, what would you like to focus about today? What are you going to do? That is a super rich area for a coach to pace and understand what's happening. On video, that is really, that's really, really important, because if someone walks into your office, for example, that's an example we had from a coach, many coaches will pick up from the way they're walking in, even know what's going on, right? Now, on a video, you don't have that. You don't have that body movement. Someone sits down and switches on the camera, right? So actually, that first part of grounding the session with the client, that is really important, and being even more aware about what's happening at their, at their body language, at their facial expressions. I think that increases that important. And also, how you leave the session. One thing I would say that has been another interesting thing that we found out through coaches' feedback for Ovida is that currently coaching is like, you do a session, then someone goes away, there's a black hole, right? They do stuff and they come back. By me being able to share even a small thing like a 2-minute video and having a little chat platform allows to have like a small sort of discussion, like a WhatsApp discussion under key moments. Hey, look at this. What do you think? It generates a little bit more of a link with the coach and the coachee throughout the 2 weeks on average that they will see each other. And that's an interesting thing, because it's not too onerous. It's not like having another session. It's like, it's asynchronous, so it doesn't take a lot of time. But it does create a bit more continuity. And it seems to also make it easier to land into the new session, because people don't necessarily have to go back and recap everything from last time, because it's there and it's available. So there's something for me that's also interesting about, is there a place for the coach to have some interaction. Currently, there's, the prevalent model is, you finish the session, people go and do stuff, and then they come back and discuss. Is there a point of having some more interaction between, not for the coach to impose a perspective or opinion, but the coach to, help explore more, how's it going with that? So there's something interesting around that. And that may be a little bit more connecting the different coaching sessions.
Definitely. So using that time in between sessions and maximizing that to the benefit of the client, sorry. One of the last questions would be, what are the risks that the coaching bodies and coaching community need to think about now that all these technologies are coming up?
I think the biggest risk with anything that has to do with machine learning and data is privacy and security. There's something really fascinating. We've seen that already, because we've had a lot of people already, trialing the session, some of them also recording the clients with consent and with, full transparency of what we're doing with the data and how has it been used. For us, I think the most important thing is to understand what data is recorded, where it is recorded, who owns it ultimately, who uses it. For us, the principle from the beginning was we will never own the data per se. We may safeguard it in a secure cloud server for a period of time that the coach and the client want, right? But the data remains ownership of the coach and the client. And that, for example, we will not use this data for anything else other than the feedback to the coaches and the clients. Being able to be super clear about the ownership of the data, the consent, when it's given, how it's given, how easily can you take your data out of something? That's super important, right? Yeah, I mean, one of the first buttons we designed on a platform was delete my data, right? Because people need to have the ownership that stays with them. That is at least from a privacy by design mindset, right? So that's how we start. Security is another thing. As unfortunately we all know, there's no such thing as something that's completely unhackable, because even the world's biggest organizations can be hacked. Right? I mean, Apple currently is suing an Israeli tech company because they can hack practically every iPhone, right? So unfortunately, we live in a world where no one can claim things will be super secure, but still the vast majority of issues with data happens because of relatively simple issues, not because a super advanced company decides to target someone specifically. So I think security and privacy, the two most important things that are there. The other thing that I also think is important is, as the coaching becomes more adopted, especially by even more corporations, there is a need, I think, for more data on what is actually available, about the training, about the progress. And I'm talking about also coaches. Currently, a lot of the three main coaching bodies, a lot of the process for accreditation is based on number of hours, right? But actually, and I would hope most people will agree with me, a number of hours on its own is not a great measure of quality, right? The reality is there will be some people that with less hours will be able to achieve and show and demonstrate skills that some people take longer. So starting to have some elements, especially when we train coaches, some elements of the quality assurance of people going out there and some data around it, that's super important for businesses. That I think is also an important area, because there's coaching, there's psychology, there's a few other one-on-one professional conversations that haven't yet gone down the path. Practically everyone else has. So if you're into sales that we talked about before, you have clear measures, right? And I'm not saying if these are the right ones or wrong ones, but they're there. If you're a teacher, you have some, right? There's all sort of other areas. So I think that's an important thing, especially for accrediting bodies, to think about how do we actually, bring some more data into this world, without though limiting the creativity and the individuality. I think that's a hard one, right? How do you actually create some standards and create some quality, but allow for the core element of coaching, which is that creativity displayed by the client and by the coach, and it requires the coach to be able to instigate that creativity. So the coach need to model in some ways that creativity, that creative thinking themselves in the way they come across that. So I think that's another interesting, really, really interesting challenge. It's a very fast-moving industry. I mean, the things that have happened, I think, over the last couple of years show that there's a lot of growth to happen. I'm sure a lot of things will be better. I'm sure some things will probably go worse. So we need to be pretty much, able to have the discussions and keep on understanding, what is moving.
Yeah. Alex, I guess another question would be for listeners. Where can they read more about this? Where would you suggest that they What do you read to keep updated about it? Where do you suggest them to go? The ones who are starting, the ones who are already in the middle of it, the ones that are very advanced. Where would you suggest that coaches who are starting in the process of learning about all these technologies, or who are already in the middle of it or very advanced in it, read about what's happening?
The reality is, specifically for coaching, there isn't yet enough, I think, books or articles even out there to talk about this, because ultimately the tools still of AI and machine learning, when used to interpret communication emotions, apart from some use cases in sales and customer service, still are not that advanced, right? But I think for me, I would almost start the other way. I think that what would be a very interesting thing for all coaches is to be more engaged with technology in general. Like we're talking about privacy and security, right? Like understanding, for example, how important it is to have certain standards about the data that we all keep in coaching, right? Especially for client data or discussion or even notes, right? Because, and I've had a discussion actually very recently, having your notes on your machine sitting at home, for example, on a folder with the names of the clients, even if it's the first name only, right? That's a potentially massive security risk. But most people don't understand it because, I used to have them on my notebook. Well, but your notebook could not be hacked from, 100,000 miles away, right? So there's something for me, first of all, about coaches being even more familiar with technology in general. I think privacy and security would be, for me, absolutely the first thing to advise people to do, and ask themselves, how much of that am I actually applying into my own practice? The other part is, again, a bit more practical. There is an increasing number of tools that help people manage practices, and that's a good thing. We need tools. We need to make it simpler and easier for the coach to do anything from arranging appointments with clients to managing notes to managing the database, or all these things. So there's a lot of things like that. I think specifically for AI and machine learning, it's a very, very new field. I mean, if someone is really interested in learning about AI, there's some incredible, and machine learning specifically, there's some incredible courses in the massive online e-learning platforms. Whether you want to do something that's more serious at a place like Udacity, for example, where they have, frankly, Udacity is currently one of the best providers of knowledge around AI, machine learning, and deep learning in the world, right? And that's almost like a university degree done in 6 months. But in all the other massive platforms, Udemy, Khan Academy, and the rest, there's so much information to help people start understanding what is available. If someone is really interested on the space, I would invite them to also engage with us a lot more, because we're doing something that's still, I think, very, very new in the space, and we're finding out things. So the most important thing for us now is feedback. So if there are listeners that would be happy to engage more and trial our platform and give us feedback and discuss some of the really interesting topics of how do we help advance coaching through technology, then we'd absolutely love to do that.
So where would you advise our listeners to go to learn more about Ovida and to get in contact with you?
Currently, I'm more than happy to leave my email at the end of this podcast openly. I mean, our site is ovida.org, so ovida.org. So you can contact us through there. But we're still a relatively small team. We do reply to people directly who want to build personal relationships with coaches. So we'd love to have more people engage. One thing I do really, really want to say is that the AC has been absolutely amazing in helping us with this. Catherine Carthen-Telpa, initially when we spoke to her for the first time, we were literally just an idea. We just started doing a few things, and her feedback and her engagement with the UK AC. So Gina Lodge and the very large group of AC coaches that have helped us so far has been absolutely amazing. So I do want to say actually a big thank you to all these guys. And we're now in the phase where we just need a lot more. Looking forward to engaging with a broader group of coaches from the global coaching community.
Amazing. And now to get to know you a little bit better, I guess the last two questions are, what book for fun are you reading at the moment?
For fun? Okay. I don't know if it is for fun per se, but I love books. I love behavioral science in general, right? And because of my background also, I was at Procter & Gamble for me, so I've done a lot of marketing. So anything that's around behavioral science, one of the probably funniest books I've read, I've actually reread recently, is called Predictably Irrational. It's on behavioral economics. there is a lot of books around that space, which is about how do we actually behave when we think that we are behaving rationally, and of course we're not. So that's, I don't know if that classifies as fun. I'm definitely having fun reading it. And
Great.
I think, the other books like Homo Deus and all of Haram's books are, fascinating, right? So I think they're worth, for anyone who's interested in, technology and human evolution, the books of Yuval Harari are all, are all a must. So I think it's a highly recommend it and there's also the Singularity is near, which is a link to where Ovida has started from. So these are some of the books that I think have been the most interesting, if you want, that are linking to what I'm doing right now, AI, machine learning, and technology in general. The Singularity is near is by Ray Kurzweil, who is also part of the Singularity University. I don't know if you know him. But fascinating thinker about future and technology. So,
well, thank you for that. You gave us there like 5 books, so keep us busy. The final question is 5 things that are around you that can help us, and what they mean to you, basically.
Probably I would start with my piano. That's around me. Absolutely love playing the piano. Played as a child, and then as an adult, sort of made pocket money throughout university. Oh, well, not pocket money. It was actually my main source of income at some point, playing in bars and pubs while I was studying. So I think that my piano, or this piano, is fairly recent, but I think having a piano around me means a lot to me. The other thing that's it's not exactly around me, but is in the room next door. I love the sea. So I've been for many years, like we've been having summers on a boat, and paddle and the paddleboard, and the paddleboard actually is on the room next door. So that probably is a super important element of what I like doing. Also with the family, my walking treadmill, which is where I seem to spend the vast majority of my working days when I'm working from home, has been an absolute lifesaver. As in, when COVID started, I started having for the first time in my life some very weird spinal issues because of sitting down for so many hours. And a neurologist recommended me to, do something different, buy a standing desk. So I bought a standing desk, and then I put a small walking treadmill underneath it. And that has been an absolute lifesaver. Like, I highly recommend it. It sounds silly. It sounds silly in the beginning. People may laugh at you. They will eventually go and buy one. Literally, I think I have so many friends they've gone and bought one after having a chat about this. It's an amazing thing. And when you're now, I'm working quite a lot from home, about like 60-70% of the time now I'm working from home. So that's a good thing. There's a glass of water next to me. That's super important. Keeping hydrated. Try to think that throughout the day. I mean, we have a very, very nice picture that just happens to be now. We had our third child, baby girl, 6 weeks ago. And we managed to get a friend who's a photographer to actually do a picture with all 5 of us. So I think that's it's a new picture. So that's a definitely new thing that means a lot to me. It also reminds me of the lack of sleep that I currently am experiencing. But apart from that, it's really great to see, because it's very hard to, as you know, I'm sure, to photograph a baby in any type of situation and then make a picture of it. So that's really, really important.
Yeah, nice. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for taking the time today and talking to our listeners about technology in general, and this type of technology that helps coaches with giving them feedback about their sessions, and clients as well. Alex, last question for you today. Thank you for spending so much time with us and giving us so much detail. So I'll let you off after this question. It's basically, how do you see the future evolving?
I mean, I love the broadness of this question. So I'll answer it as broad as I understand it, right? And I think for me, the recent, COP26 and all the discussions on climate, I think they're reflective of everything else that's happening as far as to where we're going in general as a human species, right? And what I mean by that is, and that reflects a lot into the use of technology, is we need to move to a space where we're thinking net positive. Like, we need to stop thinking net zero on all the stuff we're doing, thinking net positive. So what are we doing, especially in business, that actually makes something better? And that is, I think, the one most important thing that if we get it right, I do think I'm generally what I would call a cautious optimist, right? I believe in the human ingenuity and spirit to overcome the stupidity, which we all display, right? So I think that's the balance. So I think for me, the first important thing, which is very much linked to technology, is how can we actually use technology as a net positive? Yes, lots of people will lose their jobs, lots of drivers will lose their jobs, because ultimately it will be significantly safer for a machine to drive a truck, right? We know that, right? And it's been an accident literally 2 days ago in Bulgaria. 46 people died in a bus, right? That a driver, I don't know, maybe fell asleep, but they don't know yet. But there's a lot of stuff that machines can do better and safer, and a lot of jobs will be lost because of that. But at the same time, as it happened in every big technological change, lots of jobs will be created, lots of opportunities will be there. So how can we actually, instead of looking at the short term, how can I make more money now, to actually how can we create businesses that actually do make money, but are looking at the broader implications of society? How can we create businesses that are able to be a positive, maybe to counteract some of the other negatives, because not everyone will move on one day into a net positive mindset, right? So I think that for me would be absolutely the key message to this is, and I think it's very applicable to coaching, because coaches currently coach literally almost every executive board in the Fortune 1000. So the impact that I think great coaching can have into helping people be more in touch with themselves and the people around them, the environment around them, and making decisions can be absolutely huge, right? Imagine if, all the Fortune 1000 boards and, I don't know, 100, 200 of people were getting amazing coaching with insight about themselves, with insight about their roles in the world, not just about the next business goal, but about their values and their beliefs, right? I think we all agree it would be a better place. So the world would be a better place if that was to happen. So that for me is the key hope, if you want, for the future of coaching, that can be a force for good, and that technology and AI can help improve the overall coaching experience for the coach, help them grow, help the client results, and also at the same time democratize coaching at a much broader global scale. And I think we'll get there. As I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. So I think we'll get there, as long as we don't destroy the environment too fast. I think we'll hopefully find the solutions. And there is some glimmer of hope based on what has happened over the last couple of months. There are some areas where you go like, okay, there is some progress. So that would be for me if you want the future, like how can we all contribute to that, making things positive as opposed to not making bad things happen around us, right? That's an interesting goal.
And on that positive note, thank you so much, Alex, for being here with us, and a pleasure again to talk to you.
Thanks a lot, Claudia. Really, really appreciate your help. And as I said before, if there's more people that want to be involved and help us help coaches and clients, I would absolutely appreciate that. And looking forward to engaging with a lot more people from the AC and beyond.
So thank you for listening to another episode by the Association for Coaching. I have been Claudia Day. Our purpose is to help coaches in the process of navigating the new technologies that are arising in this field. If you would like to find out more, please follow us on LinkedIn or explore our webpage at theassociationforcoaching.com. There you can keep up to date with our latest episodes and conversations, as well as our digital learning calendar.